that life is one big psychological warfare that you play on yourself. You play on yourself, man. The most important conversation I ever had is with myself.
Projecting yourself forward to see what are the consequences of failing, what are the consequences of stopping, is about as powerful of a motivation strategy as I can think of.
And most people fail those 1 seconds. And then that 1 second leads to 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of... And I look at it as psychological warfare. And that's where I started learning that life is one big psychological warfare that you play on yourself. You play on yourself, man. The most important conversation I ever had is with myself. And the shit I was telling myself was so fucked up. It was so wrong. It was so misguided. And other people start to write that dialogue for you also. And it starts to be what you say to yourself every single day. And I started creating a whole nother warfare. A whole nother battle started becoming. I was like, oh, hang on a second, Goggins. You have these tools. You have these tools. Your life was basically the perfect grounds for training for where you need to go in your life. All the beatings, all the bullying, all the, you going through learning disabilities, all the struggles. It was the absolute perfect training ground for you to go to where you need to go. And that's how I started looking at my life versus woe is me, poopy pants, kick a rock down the street mentality. It was, God just hooked you right the fuck up. He hooked you right up, man, with the perfect place. You were training for the first 18, 19, 20, you were training for this stuff, man. You have the advantage of everybody else versus, my God, they're so above me. They came from a great family. Mom and dad love them. They didn't they didn't stutter, they didn't struggle. No, man, your struggle is what made you who you are now. So I started flipping this into I started being a master of what I was scared of. I was scared of my mind. And I became literally a master of that mind. And that's what from now on, it sets me apart from most people. I started diving into that.
Well, that is a big part of the story is when you go over your childhood and, your abusive father and then having this great guy that was going to become your stepdad and then he gets murdered. It's like right when you're about to get out of it, everything looks good. Boom, and then he gets murdered. It's like these things really did sort of set you up to start from scratch again and just go, okay, roger that. We start from scratch. Right. And now you have that attitude. You developed it through all of these horrible personal experiences, all the trials and tribulations, all the evil shit that people try to do to you. That sort of set you up to be able to deal in a way that a lot of people can't.
Well, I used to look at my life from a different vantage point. And when you're in all the muck and you're just walking in muck and walking in muck and walking in muck, you don't see that if you look off to the fucking left of the muck, there's a sidewalk, brother. Get off of it. You have your head down looking in this muck. Once I saw the sidewalk, got the sidewalk, I got a little break and I got a different vantage point. And then from the sidewalk, I found a cliff. Then I found a mountain. I got way up high on top of my life and looked back down on it and said, okay, I got to figure this out, man. I'm not going anywhere. I'm starting to lie. So when you have a messed up foundation, I started lying about everything. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to be accepted in some society of life, some social society. And I was like, man, this isn't the right way. I'm messed up here. I'm messed up here. I'm messed up everywhere. And so I realized the worst thing that happened to me is I lost myself. I never had myself. I never found myself. I had no self-esteem. So I knew through working out and through learning, because it took a lot for me to learn also, I started finding self-esteem. Once I found that, that's when doors started opening up. I stopped caring about people, that what they thought, being judged. Wow, if I say this, if I started right now, are you going to make fun of me? I stopped caring about that. And that's when my life started really changing for me, slowly but surely.
That's such an important point when you're talking about the working out, because a lot of people, when they think about working out, they think of it as being a physical thing.
Right, no. I did it for mental.
Yeah.
People always say, my God, like, no, don't look at it like, I didn't care about losing weight. I didn't care about being the fastest person. I wasn't making the Olympics. I wasn't going to pros. I could barely read and write when I was in a junior in high school. I wasn't going anywhere. I saw working out as a way for me to build calluses on my mind. I had to callous over the victim's mentality. So I watched these movies. I talked about Rocky last time I was on here. I always equated training to mental toughening. Like, it always looked brutal. People waking up early and doing all these things, and it looked horrible. I was like, wow, man, I got to start doing that. Not to get better, bigger, and stronger, but that is what's going to build me. That looks uncomfortable. That looks brutal. And getting up early, I don't want to do that. So I made this long list of things I don't want to do. And through that, I found myself. I started, I'm like, you guys aren't doing this shit in high school. You guys aren't getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, running over here in this golf course. So I started seeing myself very differently than the average human being. I was like, hang on a second. I have something they don't have. And that's when I started to develop these things through working out. It was this great, never-ending work ethic. And through work ethic, I developed self-esteem.
Now, is this something that you learned? Is this something you learned yourself from exercise yourself? Or is this something you had read or heard about? Like, what made you equate doing this and doing these difficult things physically to mental toughness, to being, this is the discipline that you need in order to get your life out of the situation you're in?
So I never read anything. You know, I could barely read, you know, so
Right.
I wasn't reading back then. I watched a lot of movies, and I was really big into visualization. And I always equated working out to struggle. And I struggled my whole life, but I ran from it. So I started realizing, man, I got to start facing the struggle, and I got to be mentally strong for the struggle. So that's why I started coming up with, like, I'm training for life. Mentally, I'm training for life. I'm not training for, like, to lift 400 pounds. And I found out on my own pretty much, is that through discipline, through self-discipline, through repetition, through tons of repetition of the same thing that you don't want to do, and that's the key thing. Through repetition of things you don't want to do, you develop mental, like an armor for your mind. Start to armor your mind, because your mind's like, okay, we suffer every day. That's what we do. We do stuff that sucks every day. So then when the suck stuff comes, you're ready for it. And that's how I started coming up. You know, I just started being very uncomfortable. And now it's like just a way of life. Let me use Hell Week. This is a perfect example. Hell Week's 130 hours. And 130 hours is a lot of seconds. A lot of seconds. And if you lose, let's say you win every second but one, you lost. It only takes 1 second for you to lose the whole thing. So the 1 second decision is just that. You're in a situation where life is sucking. Let's say you're in extreme cold water and your life is flashing before your eyes. Every time that wave goes over your head, your thought process is, I got to get the fuck out of this water. And you're in Hell Week. And you're hour one of 130 hours. It's all fun and games, okay? Because at the beginning of Hell Week, the guns are going off. It's like a pep rally. So you're hyped up. And your boys are linked arms and you're getting sprayed. And it's like a pep rally. The instructors are yelling at you. Bombs are going off. Concussion grenades. Blanks from N60s. Yeah, hoo-yah. Yeah, motherfucker. Yeah. But then what they do is they shut that shit off. They shut it off. All that hoo-yah, all that hype, it gets real quiet. And they march you out to that surf zone for something called surf torture. And it's that water, that Pacific Ocean is cold as shit. So no more pep rally. You're now in your head. You're linked arms with, your brothers beside you. You don't know if they're going to be there long or not. You don't care. You think about yourself. You lay back and that first wave hits you. Your mind goes straight from hour 2 all the way to hour 130. You can't process 5 days of this shit. You're now in I got to get out of here. You're in fight or flight. It's cold. I can't be cold this long. And then this is where that 1 second decision comes in. You forgot every reason why you wanted to be there. You don't care about SEALs. You don't care about any of this shit. You don't care about fighting for your country. You don't care about that gaudy gold trident that they put on your chest. You don't care about any of that no more. All you want to do is go back home. You want the warmth. You may want something to eat. You want your girl to hold you. All those things of comfort are there in that 1 second. And this is where people lose. So what I do in that 1 second, because we all think about quitting, it's hard. But what you have to do in that 1 second is hard to process information during pain. because that pain takes over and you can't think rationally. You're thinking about fight or flight, save yourself. That's not a rational thought. It's not a thought that's going to get you through hard times. Most people fail that 1 second. So what happens, what I do in that 1 second, and there's a bigger process to all this, but in that 1 second, I physically stayed in that water. Because if I get out of the water, I quit. So I physically stay in the water, but mentally, I'm on the beach with the instructors. And the instructors, it's cold outside, so they got these parkas on. They got their cup of Joe, and they're warm because they've already been through it. So now it's your turn to go through it. So mentally, I get back with them. I'm still in the water physically, but mentally, I'm back with them. I'm chilling. I got my parka on, and now I'm thinking logically because I'm warm now. Mentally, I'm warm. I've taken that 1 second. Let's not quit yet, Goggins. Let's think about your options. Where are you going to end up if you quit this shit? Where are you going to go? What are you going to say to yourself? Because you know you're going to get warm. The second you get out of this water, you could take a shower and you could be warm. And in 5 days, you could be out. So I start thinking logically. I calm my brain down because your brain just wants to get the fuck out. Ring the bell, put your helmet down, get warm, and then you're really fucked. And these are the things you have to think about in the 1 second decision. So that's what that's all about. It's about gaining control of your mind, putting things back in the proper perspective, and then saying, I really do want to be here. And I'm going to have a bunch of these 1 seconds through this 130-hour journey. And I have to learn to control these, because if I fail one of these 1 seconds, I will not be a SEAL. I will not be a doctor. I will not be a lawyer. I will not be whatever the fuck it is. So that's how important that 1 second decision is. It's all about your mind takes control of you. You have to say, fuck you, I run this motherfucker. And that's what that's all about.
Projecting yourself forward to see what are the consequences of failing, what are the consequences of stopping, is about as powerful of a motivation strategy as I can think of, you know? Because what you're doing is you're trying to optimize right now to stop the discomfort.
That's right.
But what you're going to pay for that in is shame and guilt and regret long term.
That's right.
So what you need to be able to do is bundle all of that up that is as yet unfelt, but will last for way, way, way longer. You know, the future is much longer than now.
That's right.
The future is going to extend out up until the day that you die. And the now is just for now. And even 130 hours is just 130 hours.
That's right.
And you get to look back. And do you look back with pride and glory? Or do you look back with shame and guilt?
That's it. That's the 1 second. You just summarized it right there. And most people fail those 1 seconds. And then that 1 second leads to 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of. I have people who have been through training with me, Ranger School, SEAL training, Air Force training, and I get calls from them today, and they have great lives. And all they talk about is how they failed in that one moment. And they can't even enjoy their life now because they're now warm. They're now warm. There's no more suffering. There's no more suffering for me either. And we're in the same boat now. But you're suffering. So we're not suffering, but you're thinking about what you could have been. I am exactly what I should have been. And that's where people start to lose it. Because now I realize that in that 1 second. I go through all that. I know how it's going to feel because I failed so many times before. Failure is the ultimate thing, man. I failed so many times before. That's why I don't look at failure anymore as failure. I look at it as my first, second, and third attempt. So that's what that's all about, man. Well, looking in the mirror at yourself, because I did a really good job by creating this guy I am now. So I can just go by and just live by this guy here. This is who I am.
Do you think of it as like this, because you refer to yourself in the third person
Always.
all the time, right? So it's like this character that you're trying to aspire to be that's distinct from you. Like you create this like division. How does that work?
It's a big division because when I talk to people, like I see where I'm at today, but I know where I come from. And it's kind of hard to almost separate that. I'm almost, not in a way I'm kissing my own ass, but I'm amazed at what a human being can actually do. So when I start talking to myself in the third person, it's strictly because I know that I literally made this human being out of out of just like a whole bunch of scraps. And I wasn't, I wasn't a mechanic. I wasn't a carpenter. So I didn't know how to do any of this shit. I wasn't trained in how to build a human being from nothing. Like my mom didn't train me. My dad didn't train me. Life didn't train me. Well, life did train me.
Yeah.
Life did train me, correction. And I started putting this scrap metal together. I'm like, I wonder what the fuck's gonna happen. The first year I tried to do is all fucked up. And after a while, I started learning more and more and more through pain and suffering. I started learning so much about stuff. Before I knew it, man, I built this beautiful car. And I'm like, how the fuck did I do that? And I knew how, and I know how to do it because I have all the tools. Through all the failure I went through trying to build this person who's Goggins.
Yeah. And I think the real gift that's built into this whole thing is how you reframe vulnerability. Like we tend to think of vulnerability as a weakness or, somebody who's soft. Right. And you embody it in a completely different structure to show people that it is strength. Like if you want to be hard and you want to be strong, vulnerability and open-mindedness are the keys to that kingdom.
And you said it perfectly there. The one thing that made me who I am today is being vulnerable. It's breaking myself down to the absolute rock bottom and being able to tell people who I am. And that's how I fixed it. Literally, being able to look somebody in the eye and say, you know what, man, I have a whole bunch of character problems, character flaws. I've lied about this. I've cheated here. I'm insecure here. This isn't the real me. I lied to you about that. I wanted your acceptance in life. All those things happen. But the thing about it is that we get judged so quickly by who we are. We don't know. We don't go to where it happened. Life created this person, me. Life created me to be this f***ed up person that I was back in the day. And I had to realize, man, that's okay, man. It's not my fault. Now I gotta go back and fix this shit, though. So a lot of this isn't your fault, why you do some things you do, why you feel the way you feel. But no one's coming back to save your ass. You have to go back to where the shit started, wherever that place is for everybody, and have the courage to go back there and start fixing what broke you. And that's when I was like, hey, I'm fucked up. I'm gonna go back and fix this, though.
You got to be honest with yourself
100%.
About where you're at.
100%.
People don't like that.
Oh, it's ugly.
Yeah.
And what's funny about it is that as you're trying to fix yourself and dig yourself out of this deep hole that life, society, and you helped also, those people who you saw down there in that hole who were there with you, who were your friends and people who you counted on, because you meet the people in the same situation that you're in life. Those people become your friends. And the second you try to get out of that situation and become better, those people are in that grave, in that dungeon, just yanking at your heels, man, saying, get the fuck back. Oh, no, come on back here, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna make me feel like shit by you getting out of this hole.
Who the fuck do you think you are?
So I get that all the time now. People would constantly remind me of who I used to be back in the day. And they always come out of the woodworks, man. Versus my
That's still
God.
happening?
You know what? When you come from a small town, and you come from a place that a lot of people don't want to come out of it and get out of it, and all you want to do is become somebody, small town mentality is a real mentality. You've got to be able to get out and let your mind see open-mindedness. Because a small town, what it does to you is it closes your mind, completely closes your mind. Not everybody. This isn't everybody. A lot of people. You have to be able to go out there and create open-mindedness. You need space. You need space to see the world. Like a lot of racism, a lot of ignorance in the world, it comes from people not being out and seeing other things, seeing other people, seeing all kind of shit. That's why we judge so harshly, because our minds are so closed to the reality of life, period. We have the ability to go in such a space if you're willing to suffer, and I mean suffer. Your brain and your body, once connected together, can do anything. And this 30 miles was the life-changing moment. I was out of it. I was in the worst pain in my entire life. I was, to me, on the brink of death. And I was able to chunk this 30 damn miles into small pieces. I was so driven, and I'm not gonna say motivated, because motivation's crap. Motivation comes and goes. When you're driven, whatever's in front of you will get destroyed. So I sat in this chair and I was so driven to succeed in this race. And at this time, Everybody goes, were you thinking about the guys that died? And I'm not going to lie to you, I wasn't. This became a personal thing. This became me against this race, me against the kids that called me nigger, me against me. It just became something that I took so violently personal. And I broke this thing down into small pieces. I said, okay, I got to get nutrition. I got to be able to stand up before I can get off this curb and get off this chair and be able to go 30 miles. So I went through all these small steps, and I was able to stand up. And then from standing up, I was literally walking around with my wife at the time, and she goes, you're not going to make the time. She goes, you're walking like 30-some minute miles. I got to mile 81, and the second she said that I'm not going to make the time, I ran the last 19 miles nonstop. And that's why I talk about the warrior mentality. And that's why so many people are lost when I start talking. You have the right. You're lucky that you don't have to think like warriors think. You're very privileged. I chose this world to be a warrior, and I would choose it again if I came back to this world. But the mentality of a warrior is very different than normal mentality. You must be that person on that door, get ready to open it, thinking to yourself, if I die, so be it. The only way you can go in that door is knowing there's a great chance you're going to die. Like being a SEAL, you train with live ammo. You jump out of an airplane. Everything you do, you could die. So to be a warrior, why people don't understand me, I'm glad you don't understand me. Merry Christmas, good on you. Because being a warrior takes a whole different mindset. A whole different mindset to know that there's a great chance I may not be in the military. Like I was in for 21 years. I'm lucky. I'm very lucky that I'm alive, able to talk to you, able to still run. But when you sign up on that dotted line to be like a SEAL, your mentality changes. I may not live. You got to accept that. And that's the mentality you have. Basically, I made a decision about, 23 years ago that I was a loser. I called myself a born loser. I don't feel that way now, but that's how I felt a long time ago. And I made a decision to go all the way in. And a lot of us have this mindset of balanced. It's important. We all have family. A lot of us have kids. A lot of us have wives, husbands, moms, dads, brothers, sisters, all that shit. But if you want to be part of that 1%, which I know all of you want to be, I'm sorry to say, you got to throw that balanced shit in the wind. The only way you can do it is if you go all the way in and talk to your family and say, I'll be home, but not today. So the thing about it is the unbalanced mind allows you to do everything at a level that most can't even fathom. They look at you, they see you grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. And while they are at this mediocre level, you slowly rise and rise and rise. I call it front loading. If a lot of you right now want to be the best, you front load your life. So then that family that you were unbalanced with, you bring them on board when you're 40, 50, and 60 and say, okay, now I'm home forever because I'm making a shit ton of money or whatever the hell you're trying to do. So it's all about that mindset of how hard you want to go. And a lot of people come up here and talk to you about a lot of bullshit. And they go home and they write shit to motivate you. Right now, I'm a 47-year-old smoke jumper out of British Columbia. I took 5 days off of jumping fires. I'm a retired man, got a shit ton of money, but it ain't fucking enough. I still must grind. Because once again, you all are here for a reason. And the thing about it, a lot of you, trust me, when I say don't take it personal, because I don't know anybody in here besides this man. So if I say something and it's not who you are, just fucking ignore me. Don't come up to me after this shit's over and give me your life story about, hey man, you was wrong about me. I don't know the fuck you are. I'm just talking in general fucking terms. But what I'm trying to say here is the reason why I did not succeed in the first 24 years of my life is because I hadn't developed belief. And this isn't some after school special, some fucking Sesame Street shit that you look, oh, Believe in yourself. Your mom and dad, you wake up, believe in yourself. That ain't it. People think, why the fuck are you running 100-mile races, 200-mile races, breaking pull-up records? Why are you a smoke jumper at 47 with all this fucking money? The way I build belief, I have to do it at that level because of the darkness in which I came from. A lot of you came from a lot of different places and have zero belief. That is something you're not going to get from a book, and you're not going to get from some motivational fucking speaker. I get it from hours and hours and days and decades of being in the grind. So when my time comes, when I fail and I fail and I fail, I go back to that big ass belief that I've built myself, and I know I will fucking make it. So whatever your belief is, however you gain that belief, I gain mine by going into the damn dungeon and staying there. So whenever I need that shit and I'm getting my ass kicked, I go back into the belief jar, pull out that belief. So whatever you guys got to do that, that is a necessary thing to do.